Well, heyo everyone, and welcome. Let's dive into this 365th stream. We're your friends, Art of Mana, Kuro, and Bob. Yes, obviously, it's just me here on the couch. Unfortunately, the realities of life are that sometimes you have the best laid plans and the best intentions, and they just fall through. Tonight we had our planned retake of the very first Secret of Mana stream, and the idea was that we were going to go through the first 2 hours of the game. That footage was lost, sadly, because I did not back up or archive my VOD in time. The plan was actually a few days ago to do this retake, and that fell through because Bob has a new job. And then tonight we were delaying, and unfortunately it came to that Bob was unable to come. He had family obligations, and honestly, it makes perfect sense, and being a daddy is the number one priority. Truth is, that's something I needed to remind myself of as well, because among all of the moving preparations and, or in other words, the preparations for the move that's coming up this summer, the final days of my employment, looking for new work and new place to live, preparing the house, all of these things, packing all of my belongings. I have lost my balance in streaming. This is the phrase I decided to use the other day in describing what's going on. And I think it's a good one because up until this point, I've always felt really grounded in streaming. I've always felt like streaming is a very positive thing in my life. It's something I enjoy doing. I've always enjoyed coming to a stream. I've always enjoyed streaming for you and with you. And it wasn't until really, I suppose, this last month where I ended up getting sick, and it really made me come to the realization that I had been taking on too much. It wasn't until really this last month and all of this happening that I began to understand my limits a bit more in terms of streaming, and unfortunately came to a point where I didn't really know what the next steps were. I didn't know what I needed to do. I had a stream last night, which, I think it probably was a great stream. I enjoyed my time with people, but I didn't even really know what I was doing. I kept fumbling with the technology, and I kept trying to think of the next thing I was going to do, and I didn't even have a solid plan going into it. Those of you who've been with me for a very long time know I've always tried to commit to a time slot, a day. I've always tried to keep to my schedule. I've always tried to go live right on time, and it really does pain me when I don't do that. I try to do that because I know that a lot of people actually depend on my schedule, and the fact that this last month I haven't been sticking to a schedule I've put out at the start of the week at all is really troubling for me. So I'm here basically because, as I mentioned, we had this plan and it fell through, and unfortunately, that's probably it for Secret of Mana at this time. I've lost the first VOD, so there won't be a record of that. But let me tell you, maybe it can go down as a legend. I'm sure it was a great stream. I don't know that I actually had a chance to go back and really watch it, but it was the first time I got to introduce uh, Kuro to Secret of Mana. He had never played it before, and I think he was really enjoying it as he played through the start of the game. And for Bob, it was a chance to introduce him, who's a friend of mine, a longtime friend, a family man himself, a father who just recently played through Secret of Mana with his children. And what was really cool is that he and I have tried to play this game. We wanted to play multiplayer for over a decade. And so the fact that we actually got a chance to is what I need to focus on. That's the positive, right? But he got to share stories of how he first got the game, and it was probably near launch, and he got to share stories about how he learn the ins and outs of the game, and he helped us through as our sprite, and Kuro picked up the role of the girl, and I continued on as the boy after Kuro had started. And, we knew we were going to have to do something different, right? So one of the things I wanted to show, and I'm going to do it now, one of the things I wanted to show again in this first, actually, yeah, I don't remember if I had this ready and shared it, or if I wanted to and forgot on that first stream, but I was going to show this. This is the Nintendo Power where I first learned about this game. My cousins, as I've shared this story, wanted to pick up Secret of Mana, and it was during actually another move. It was during a move of my family to another state. So kind of neat that it's come full circle. And I wanted to share this particular Nintendo Power because it's just so cool. Now, this is not the one with some of the art I wanted to showcase and share because that came in later issues with a more complete walkthrough. But nonetheless, this is very cool. So I wanted to share that with all of you, and that was going to be a part of our retake. I was going to share that. Of course, I was going to have this was sorry. I was going to have our friend the Rabbite on my shoulder, as did happen in the very first episode. I wanted to share with you also how we set this up because you may not be aware that we actually did have a pretty neat little setup. We were playing 3 players, and this is how we did it. Obviously, this is all original hardware. This is my Super Nintendo. And we've got, what is this? Only 2 controller ports. So how did we manage the 3-player, you ask? Well, it was with this little device right here. You can see it. It allows you to select between just being a pass-through for the 2nd player port or allowing you up to 5 additional players. This is the Super Multi-Tap, and that was what I wanted to share with all of you. And at the end of the stream, as we went through this, I was going to reveal, or we were all going to reveal the plan, which was going to be the way we were going to complete this playthrough, because we knew we were running out of time. We knew it. We had some setbacks and delays. This was back in January. This was the 9th of January when we first recorded episode 365. And at that time, we thought we'd have plenty of time to beat this game, but we had some setbacks. We had a few weeks we had to cancel. We had some sicknesses and things like that. And of course, I'm just overly ambitious. This has been true since I've started streaming. And maybe it's unfortunate that I'm starting to realize my streaming career could be probably best described as a lot of starts and not a lot of finishes. But I hope to never complete streaming. I hope to continue streaming, so maybe that's the positive side of that. The negative is I've never completed Well Cookie Degree in Minecraft, and I'm not going to probably have an opportunity to beat this playthrough of Secret of Mana. We'll have to wait for another very special time when I return to the world of Secret of Mana. Until then, it will have to remain a secret. But this is what we were planning on doing. We're going to bust out the Game Genie, and this is the device from Galoob, and totally radical game genie video game enhancer. And that's what we were. Oh, my rabbit just fell. That's what we were going to use, basically to give ourselves infinite mana, infinite magic, and just breeze through the game. Oh gosh, my rabbit's falling. There you go, off balance, right? That's how I feel. Unfortunately, all of those things have not come to pass, and I just realized I have bit off more than I can chew. As I mentioned in the State of the Mana that I did, boy, it was some months ago. I think it was before January that I shared this. I mentioned that we would be moving and that there would be this time of transition and that I would ask all of you to bear with me. And this is what it looks like. It's the sort of messiness of plans. And you can make plans, but ultimately, streaming for me, I put so much time, energy, effort, money, you name it, into this hobby. I have to call it a hobby. But I put enough effort into it, I would say, that you would, from the outside, think it was actually my career. And it really does bother me to spin my wheels like this. So I share all of this as just an open letter to all of you to kind of put a little bit of a perspective on what we did. I think the Secret of Mana run was fantastic. Kura and I talked about Pokemon. We were thinking we might try and do one more Pokemon stream, possibly. But we'll see. All of this stuff, all this gear around me, I need to pack it up. I need to make this room look presentable for showing the house. And we just ran out of time. I'm going to be transitioning then into a little bit of a different kind of stream schedule. I'm going to go back probably eventually to one stream a week, much like how I started. And when I do that, I'm going to be streaming PC games exclusively because that would allow me a very simple setup, one that would look good for show. But everything else, all of the consoles, all of the extra lights, I might have to not do webcam. All of this is going to have to leave. You know, I've got a mic here on the couch. I've got right now the webcam on a tripod in front of me. I've got all this stuff, multiple monitors. It wouldn't really look good for show. So I need to prioritize this getting ready and this transition, this time of transition. And I ask for you to trust me in this transition and trust me during this time that I will come back to streaming. I can promise you that because I know deep down I love streaming. And though I'm feeling out of balance and I'm starting to feel for the first time really this burnout, there's something about this that is very special and something I want to continue for a good long time. I hope that this eventually evolves into something much bigger. And, you know, I would love for this to be a full-time occupation. But I will share right now, because the last State of the Mana was fairly optimistic on this point, it's not going to happen this summer. There's no way. I won't be able to transition into full-time streaming, and I am looking for employment when we make our move, and I've got some options and things. But there's no way that this will be sustainable for our family, and maybe I can eventually go part-time, who knows. But it's going to have to be something that we find out together, and we're going to journey into the unknown. There are a lot of secrets of mana out there, and the biggest is probably what does the future hold. I hope you'll join me as we try to figure out just exactly what it is. It's a really, really weird ending. It's probably a better way to say that. Like, I hope you'll join me as we determine our future together, which is the secret of mana. Maybe I'm just trying to force something that's not there. Much like trying to get this retake happening. Sometimes you just gotta accept that, you know, you've got a few missing episodes. It'll go down in legend. And don't worry, I will absolutely be playing Secret of Mana many more times in streams to come. That's better. Bye. As always, do good and be well.